Every week, someone sits across from me in my office and says the same thing. Dr. Carter, I don't understand. I'm eating healthy. I'm taking my pills. I'm doing everything right. So why won't my blood pressure come down? And every time I hear that question, I already know what I'm going to find when I ask them to walk me through their meals. I had a woman last year, 71 years old, retired nurse. She'd spent her entire career telling patients to watch their blood pressure, and now hers wouldn't budge. 148/94, 3 medications, walking every morning, doing everything by the book, and she was getting worse, not better. When I finally sat with her long enough to go through her diet, not the broad strokes, but the actual meals, the actual brands, the actual portions, I found 5 foods she was eating every single day, 5 foods she was choosing because she believed they were helping her. Every one of them was quietly, steadily, driving her numbers up. My name is Dr. James Carter. I'm a cardiothoracic surgeon with over 2 decades in the operating room, and today I'm going to show you those 5 foods. Not the obvious ones, not the ones you already feel guilty about, the ones you're eating right now because you think they're good for you, and one of them has absolutely nothing to do with salt. That's the one that changes everything. Stay with me. Before I show you the 5 foods, I need you to understand 2 things about how blood pressure actually works, because once you see these 2 mechanisms clearly, every food on this list will make immediate sense. The first mechanism is sodium and fluid. Think of it like a water balloon. When you eat sodium, your body holds on to extra water to dilute that sodium. More water means more volume inside your blood vessels. More volume means more pressure pushing against the walls. Keep filling the balloon day after day, meal after meal. And the pressure builds. It builds until something gives. A stroke, a heart attack, a vessel that simply cannot stretch any further. The balloon doesn't warn you before it bursts. Now, here's where most people stop. They think the whole story is sodium. Cut the salt, fix the problem. But that is only half the equation. And honestly, it might be the less important half. Your body doesn't respond to sodium in isolation. It responds to the balance between sodium and potassium. These 2 minerals operate like opposite ends of a scale. Potassium tells your blood vessels to relax and open. Sodium tells them to tighten and hold fluid. When the scale is balanced, pressure stays normal. But the typical diet today has the scale completely tipped. Roughly 3 times more sodium than potassium. And cutting salt alone doesn't fix a ratio that's been upside down for decades. Now, the second mechanism. And this is the one that nobody talks about. There is a hormone in your body called insulin. Most people connect insulin to blood sugar, to diabetes. They do not connect it to blood pressure, but they should. When insulin rises, it triggers another hormone called aldosterone. Aldosterone has one job: tell the kidneys to hold on to more sodium. More sodium, more fluid, more pressure. That chain reaction starts not with the salt shaker, but with your food. So here is the sentence I need you to remember. Every time you eat something that spikes your insulin, your body holds on to more salt automatically. Even if that food contains 0 milligrams of sodium on the label, even if you never touched the salt shaker, even if you did everything your doctor told you to do. That is why one of the 5 foods on this list is going to shock you. It's going to shock you because there's no salt in it at all, and it's still raising your blood pressure every time you eat it. Let's get to the list. And I want to be precise about something before we start. These are not junk foods. These are not foods you eat out of laziness or indulgence. These are foods you eat because you genuinely believe they're helping you. That belief is the problem. Number 1. Canned soup. Specifically the ones with the words heart healthy or low sodium printed right there on the label. I understand why this is a staple. It's warm, it's easy, it feels like a reasonable meal, and when you see those words on the can, you feel like you're making a smart choice. But here is what that label is hiding from you. 1 can of soup, even the ones marketed to people watching their blood pressure, can contain more than half your entire daily sodium allowance in a single serving. And here's the part that tricks almost everyone. The label says 1 serving is 1 cup, but the can holds 2, sometimes 2.5 servings, so that 400 milligrams you see on the label. Multiply it by 2. You're actually consuming 800, 900, sometimes over 1,000 milligrams of sodium from what you thought was a light, healthy meal. The American Heart Association recommends people with high blood pressure stay below 1,500 milligrams for the entire day. One bowl of soup just ate up 2/3 of your limit. And you haven't even had dinner yet. The words organic, natural, heart healthy. Those are marketing decisions. They are not medical information. They tell you absolutely nothing about what that soup is doing to your blood pressure. What should you do instead? Make your own broth when you can, and when you buy canned soup, ignore the front of the can entirely. Flip it over. Find the sodium per serving. Find how many servings are in the container. Multiply. That number is the truth. Everything else is packaging. How many of those cans are sitting in your kitchen right now? I'm serious. Go look after this video and then come back and tell me what you found. This next one is the food that makes my patients go quiet. Because it's something they eat almost every single day, believing it's the responsible choice. Number 2. Deli turkey and lean processed meats. Here's what happens when people try to eat healthier. They stop eating red meat. They switch to turkey. Turkey sandwich for lunch. Maybe some sliced turkey rolled up with cheese as an afternoon snack. It feels like progress. Lean protein, no grease, no guilt. But deli turkey is not just turkey. That meat has been processed, injected, cured, and preserved with sodium. A few slices can deliver 500, 600, sometimes 700 milligrams of sodium before you add a single thing to it. Before the bread, the mustard, the cheese, the pickle on the side. But sodium isn't the only concern. Processed meats contain nitrates, chemical preservatives that allow the meat to sit in a refrigerator for weeks without spoiling. And nitrates trigger inflammation inside the lining of your blood vessels. The very lining that controls whether those vessels relax or constrict, which directly determines your blood pressure. So that turkey sandwich you're packing for lunch, because it's the smart option, is loading you with hidden sodium and inflammatory compounds that work against the medication you took this morning. What should you do instead? On a Sunday, cook 2 chicken breasts. Season them with herbs and garlic. Nothing from a packet. Slice them when they cool. Use those slices for your sandwiches all week. You control the sodium completely. You eliminate the nitrates entirely. Same convenience. Completely different conversation with your arteries. Be honest with me in the comments. How many of you had a deli sandwich this week and felt good about it? Number 3. And this is the one that changes the entire way you think about blood pressure because it has nothing to do with sodium. White bread and refined carbohydrates. When I share this with patients, they look at me like I'm speaking a different language. Bread, there's barely any salt in bread. What does bread have to do with my blood pressure? And they're right. Bread is not a high sodium food. That is not why it's on this list. Remember the insulin connection I explained earlier? White bread, white rice, pasta made from refined flour, crackers, bagels. These foods spike your blood sugar fast. When blood sugar spikes, your body releases a flood of insulin to bring it back down. That insulin surge triggers aldosterone. Aldosterone tells your kidneys to hold onto sodium. Your body retains more fluid. Your blood pressure climbs. And you never added a single grain of salt to anything. But that's only the first mechanism. Elevated insulin also activates your sympathetic nervous system. Your body's fight or flight response. Heart beats faster. Blood vessels tighten. That's the second mechanism. And the third, insulin disrupts something called the sodium-potassium pump. The system inside every cell that's supposed to keep those two minerals in balance. When that pump is disrupted, sodium accumulates where it shouldn't, and potassium can't do its job of relaxing your vessels. 3 mechanisms. 1 piece of toast, sodium retention, nervous system activation, cellular disruption, and not 1 milligram of added salt. A landmark trial called SPRINT, published in 2015, was actually stopped early because researchers discovered it was genuinely dangerous to allow blood pressure to drift above 130/90. And one of the patterns they identified in patients whose pressure wouldn't stabilize was constant, daily insulin stimulation from refined carbohydrates. What should you eat instead? Whole grains that don't assault your blood sugar. Sweet potatoes, oats, quinoa, butternut squash. These foods give your body energy without the hormonal cascade that sends your blood pressure climbing. Did you know bread could raise your blood pressure even if you never touched the salt shaker? That one fact alone is worth sending this video to someone you care about. Number 4. And this is where the betrayal cuts deepest, because this food sounds like it should be one of the healthiest things you could possibly put in your body. Fruit juice, orange juice with breakfast, apple juice in the afternoon, cranberry juice, because somebody once told you it was good for your kidneys. These are staples in kitchens everywhere. Most people genuinely believe they're getting a serving of fruit. They are not. They are drinking a glass of sugar. Here's the difference. When you eat an actual orange, the fiber inside that orange slows down how fast the sugar enters your bloodstream. Blood sugar rises gently. Insulin responds calmly. Everything stays in balance when you drink the juice. The fiber is gone. That sugar hits your bloodstream all at once. Insulin spikes hard. Aldosterone rises. Your kidneys grip onto sodium. Fluid builds. Pressure goes up. One glass of orange juice contains roughly the same amount of sugar as a can of Coca-Cola. The body processes them almost identically, and over time, this gets worse. Daily juice consumption can lead to insulin resistance, a condition where your body needs more and more insulin to do the same job. Higher insulin, higher aldosterone, higher blood pressure, month after month, year after year. And you thought you were drinking something healthy. What should you drink instead? Water, always. Coconut water is remarkable. Roughly 600 milligrams of potassium per cup. Remember that scale we talked about? Potassium tips it back in the right direction. And hibiscus tea. Clinical trials have shown that drinking hibiscus tea regularly reduces systolic blood pressure by 7 to 10 points. That is more effective than certain medications. 3 cups a day, hot or cold, very little sugar. Your blood vessels will notice. What are you drinking with breakfast every morning? Tell me in the comments. I'm genuinely curious whether you already knew about this. Number 5. I saved this for last because it is the most invisible of all, and the most immediately fixable. Condiments and sauces. Ketchup, soy sauce, barbecue sauce, ranch dressing, hot sauce. That squeeze of this, that drizzle of that. Nobody counts it. Nobody logs it. Nobody thinks of condiments as food. But here is what those small additions are doing to your numbers. 1 teaspoon of hot sauce contains nearly 200 milligrams of sodium. 1 teaspoon. 2 tablespoons of soy sauce, which most people pour generously, can contain over 900 milligrams. That's more than half. Your daily limit for someone with high blood pressure. From a condiment, and nobody uses just one condiment at one meal. Ketchup on the eggs in the morning. Dressing on the salad at lunch. Barbecue sauce on the chicken at dinner. By the time the day is over, those invisible additions have stacked up to 800, 1,000, sometimes 1,500 milligrams of sodium that appeared on no meal plan and crossed nobody's mind. This is the sodium your doctor cannot find. Because when they ask, "Are you watching your salt?" you say yes. And you are watching it in the foods you cook. But no one ever taught you to watch the bottles on the refrigerator door. What should you use instead? Fresh garlic, lemon juice, fresh cracked pepper, vinegar, herbs you can grow on a windowsill. These give you flavor that is genuinely powerful without the sodium that is quietly undoing everything your medication is trying to accomplish. Tonight, I want you to do something specific. Walk to your refrigerator, open the door, look at every bottle sitting in that door. Turn each one around and read the sodium content. Then honestly count how many servings you actually use. That moment of shock might be the single most valuable thing this entire video gives you. Alright, we've walked through 5 foods, and I want to stop here for a second because something important needs to be said. I do not want you walking away from this video thinking your kitchen is the enemy. That is not the message, not even close. The message is the opposite. Your kitchen is the most powerful tool you have for protecting your heart. More powerful than any prescription I could write, more powerful than any supplement on any shelf, because here's what fights back. Potassium-rich foods actively tell your kidneys to flush sodium out of your body. 1 avocado delivers 700 milligrams of potassium. 1 cup of coconut water delivers 600. Leafy greens, sweet potatoes, watermelon. These foods tip that scale back toward balance in ways that no pill can replicate as naturally. Hibiscus tea acts as a natural ACE inhibitor. doing what an entire class of prescription blood pressure drugs does, without the cough, without the copay, for about $3 a box. 7 to 10 point reduction in systolic pressure, documented in clinical trials. That is a cup of tea doing the work of a pharmaceutical. These are not miracles. They are not trends. They are biology. And your body responds to them with remarkable speed when you give it the chance. I want to tell you about the woman I mentioned at the beginning. I'll call her Dorothy. 71 years old, retired nurse, knew more about blood pressure than most of my patients because she'd spent her career measuring it in other people and her own numbers. Wouldn't cooperate. When I went through her daily meals, here's what I found. Breakfast was toast with margarine and a tall glass of orange juice. Lunch was a turkey sandwich with mustard and a bowl of canned soup on the side. Dinner usually came with ketchup or barbecue sauce. Snacks were salted trail mix from a jar. Every single meal contained at least one of the foods we just discussed. Several contained 2 or 3, and she had been eating this way for years, believing she was doing everything right. Because nothing on that list looks like junk food. Nothing looks irresponsible. It all looks like what a thoughtful, careful person eats. We rebuilt her meals together that afternoon. Not a dramatic overhaul, not a diet. Simple substitutions. Oatmeal with berries and a cup of hibiscus tea instead of toast and juice. Homemade chicken on whole grain bread with a side salad instead of deli turkey and canned soup. Fresh herbs and lemon on her dinner instead of bottled sauces. Unsalted almonds instead of trail mix. 8 weeks later, Dorothy came back for her follow-up. Her blood pressure was 126/80 on the same medication, without a single new pill, just different food. She sat across from me, quiet for a moment, and then she said, "I spent 30 years as a nurse, 30 years, and nobody ever explained this to me." That sentence stays with me. It is part of why I sit in front of this camera every week. Here is what I need you to understand. This is the single most important thing I will say today. Your kitchen is more powerful than your medicine cabinet. What you eat 3 times a day is either fighting your blood pressure or feeding it. Every meal is a decision, and those decisions, stacked one on top of another, day after day, week after week, will either bring your numbers down or keep them climbing silently until something breaks that cannot be repaired. You are making that decision tonight, and now you know what to look for. Let's bring it all together. 5 foods that are silently raising your blood pressure while you believe they're keeping you healthy. 1. Canned soup, even the ones labeled heart healthy. Read the real label. Multiply sodium by servings. That number is the truth. 2. Deli turkey and lean processed meats, loaded with hidden sodium and inflammatory nitrates. The healthy lunch that isn't. 3. White bread and refined carbohydrates. They spike insulin, which forces your kidneys to hold on to salt you never added. 3 mechanisms from one food. 4. Fruit juice. Sugar without the fiber. Your body processes it the same way it processes soda. Your blood pressure can't tell the difference. 5. Condiments and sauces. The invisible sodium nobody tracks. Check your refrigerator door tonight. Which of these foods were you eating, fully believing it was helping you? I genuinely want to know. Tell me in the comments. I read every single one. And if this video made you rethink even one item in your kitchen, please share it. There is someone in your life right now, a parent, a partner, a friend you worry about, someone over 60 who is taking their blood pressure pill faithfully every morning and eating a turkey sandwich for lunch and drinking orange juice at breakfast. And they cannot figure out why their numbers won't move. You now know why. Give them the same answer. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. Every week I bring you honest, evidence-based information that I wish every one of my patients had heard long before they ended up in my operating room. Take care of your heart. It has been beating for you every second of your life without ever asking for anything in return. The least we can do is pay attention to what we feed it. And one last thing. Everything I've shared today is general medical information based on published research and my clinical experience. Every person's body is different. Every situation is unique. Before making changes to your diet or your medications, bring this information to your next appointment. Have the conversation with your own doctor. They know your history. They know your numbers. And that conversation, informed, specific, and unhurried, is exactly where real progress begins.